Welcome back. Welcome in. This is Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com, part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. I am Mike Casaza, Googling 2023 NCAA tournament sites. Chris Anderson. Chris, are you ready to foot the bill for a road trip to Greensboro, Columbus, Sacramento? Mountaineers are in, right?
I think this does it. But as far as the budget goes, we might have to incorporate the same radius that the football team does. 300 miles, car only. Sacramento's a rough one, but Maryland. I mean if you're looking at the same one I am with Lenardi, it's Sacramento, it's the West region, but you get Maryland in the first round, which I think a lot of fans would enjoy.
Oh, would it be like a 7-10?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead, but if you're a 2 seed and you draw Maryland or West Virginia, you're probably not happy.
No.
Because I don't know I've watched a little bit of Maryland lately. They play hellacious defense, and I think we know West Virginia's reputation too. Yeah, Birmingham, Des Moines. Why not Des Moines, Chris? Des Moines been good. Orlando, Sacramento, Albany, Columbus, Denver, Greensboro. Some nice
As long as it's not Cleveland.
Hey,
Ever tell you that story? I
go
mean,
on.
you were there
Mm.
at the game. Um, it was in Cleveland
Is this the hotel
at the
swap?
camp. And no, this was the one where I was living in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
And so, but you weren't with us yet. So I think you were there with the paper, and I was going for the site. And I and dozens of others. Well, originally I eventually got moved to press row ish area, right on the court. But for people, and this was when Notre Dame was there, but I specifically remember, and I'm sorry for our Midwest folks out there, but you said Des Moines, and I immediately thought of Wichita State, which is not Des Moines. It is not Iowa, but Wichita State was in that bracket, and or in that little quad, and they were playing in the games, and there were guys who traveled from Des Moines or from Wichita State, and they were talking about how getting from Wichita State to Cleveland cost them thousands of dollars because it was not a drive, there was no direct flight, hotels were expensive, all this stuff. And then I don't know if you knew this because you had your cushy longtime veteran of the media seat,
Mm-hmm.
but I think like a third or more of people who were approved for media credentials did not get a seat in the stadium and had to sit in the concourse in the back where we all like worked and ate lunch, and they just put a screen up there for them to watch. So they spent thousands of dollars, took out and 4, 5, 6 days of their life to go up to Cleveland to sit in the back and watch it on a TV screen.
Oh, man.
I was like, that's brutal.
Kentucky was there
Brutal.
too, right?
Yeah, that was the famous, or
It
not
was
so famous, infamous Kentucky game.
I absolutely remember when the brackets came out, people were looking toward that second weekend and saying, okay, who could be where? And then people were like, there are going to be a ton of fan bases descending upon Cleveland if that happens. And there was something else going on at that time. I can't remember in town. And it was really hard to find hotels. And I remember that there were two media hotels and people were checking into the one that was very convenient and then being like, we're going to need you to get on this bus and take you to another one that's not quite as convenient. And if I remember correctly, it was still a Marriott property, so people weren't too mad about it, but like it wasn't like full scale Marriott. And sports writers, if you're not familiar, sports writers and Marriott points are, I mean, they're as close to a sports writer and a spouse during the peak travel times because you bank a lot of that stuff and you get all the perks like the continental breakfast and the late checkouts and, all these, eventually points for free rooms and vacations and all that. And people were really mad about that. And I'll say this, like people will say what they want to say about the NCAA. They usually do a tremendous job in that tournament when it comes to accommodations and hospitality and making sure you can get from one spot to another and making it fast. And like, I remember that one just being like an absolute nightmare. And which hurts my heart because Cleveland is, I mean, only one of the best cities in the world. We'll go on here. West Virginia in a pretty friendly city last night. Ames, Iowa, suddenly hospitable. And Chris, a game they had to win, a game they really could have lost. a game they tried to win, the game that the other team, I think, tried to win, but also it seemed to me at some point, and then we might just get into this right here. It seemed to me at some point that Iowa State stood there on the floor at Hilton Coliseum and rubbed its eyes and said, "Will you guys stop? Like, just give up, quit, please." And West Virginia did not, would not, could not, and here they are, right side of the bubble, trending up. I do think that they're in, probably absent another win, which, 96 hours ago, we were saying Bob Huggins is crazy for saying something like that, but here we are. One game changes that much, but certainly not so safe that they should consider going 0-2. But there is a bit of house money feeling about what happens now, because they got a win that was impressive and improbable all at once Monday night.
Yeah, I think, we've been talking about a lot of the metrics and all these different things with West Virginia and why they are or should be on the bubble or on the right side of the bubble. And one of the things they were kind of lacking was quad one road wins. Here you go. There's one right there. That was not an easy place. That place seemed like, and again, I'm watching from afar, so maybe like if you're there in person, it didn't seem like it, but it sure seemed like that place was rocking last night. Senior night festivities, crowd was going wild. That place is always tough to play in. And yeah, I think after, I don't know if it was right as soon as Mitchell got ejected, or maybe it might have been right around that time where I started basically writing a eulogy on not only the game, but the season, maybe, or at least West Virginia's NCAA tournament hopes. And I can't get over that Trey Mitchell elbowed someone in the face. He got called for a technical, a flagrant, got ejected, and West Virginia ended up +5 from the situation on the scoreboard.
Can we revisit this?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like the most pivotal, like little, 1 minute of game time of the season.
Number one, and you might want to check with some officiating friends and family of yours, how the heck did West Virginia get the ball out of that? It's an offensive foul, right? It's a flagrant 2. It's an ejection. I don't know if I doubt it was a screw up, but I was having a hard time understanding how the team that committed a flagrant offense, i.e. a turnover, because it's an offensive foul, somehow got possession back. 2 technicals against Iowa State led to 2 free throws for West Virginia. Iowa State gets to go up, shoot flagrants, doesn't get it. West Virginia gets to shoot technicals, gets it. And then just the whole adjudication. How did Mitchell get a technical? Did he get a technical?
So
no, it was Grill and Kunch who got technicals for Iowa State. Mitchell just got the flagrant 2 in a personal and an ejection.
So what they did was they called an offensive turnover and a technical as a dead ball technical. And I believe when there's dead ball techs on both teams, it goes back to the jump ball arrow. And I'm double checking here. I'm trying to see if it says it in the book here. Whose turn it was, but it might have just been West Virginia's turn on the alternating possession of the jump ball arrow.
Okay.
So that's my assumption there, because I was confused at first, because it's not one of those situations where Iowa State got called for 2 and West Virginia only got called for 1, so that doesn't matter. I think it was, since there were dead ball techs on both teams, it goes to a jump ball situation, and it was West Virginia's possession arrow.
Okay. The play-by-play has an offensive turnover by Mitchell. That's the elbow. On a personal foul, that's the offensive foul. And then it has a contact dead ball technical foul on Mitchell. That's actually the flagrant 2. What did you think about the 2 on Iowa State? Because you got elbowed in the face. I think you got to get some wiggle room from somebody. And I think maybe because there was so much time left in the game that appeared to be escalating, the officials just said, no extracurriculars here. We're gonna be proactive and also reactive here. And they gave Jazz Kunch the technical for kind of kicking at Mitchell's legs, and they gave Caleb Grill one for, he comes in aggressively. He doesn't do a whole lot, but he gets a technical foul. Didn't really factor into a whole lot of things, but it just seemed to me that was an odd moment there. And again, momentum really swings because Mitchell's out, but then it swings right back because West Virginia goes +5 on the possession.
Yeah, the 2 technicals on them, West Virginia's was pretty obvious. And I think they made the right call. I think it was a flagrant two, in part because it was to the head, which they make an emphasis of. Um, and then, yeah, I didn't see the Kuntz tech at first. And then I saw somebody replay it. And again, once you start watching things in slow-mo, things really stand out to you. And he kind of, at first, the legs just get tangled up. And that is what it is. That's just going to happen. But then he kind of kicks up with his foot, like almost towards Mitchell's groin. And that's what sent Mitchell off again. Like, he kind of, bucked at him a little bit, like leaned at him. And then, yeah, Grill coming in and shoving. Like, that's, they have a term for it. I mean, I guess it's escalation. Like, he was kind of escalated it. And they were both kind of meh in my mind, but it only needed one for it to be West Virginia's possession anyway. So it is what it is. But yeah, that was, I mean, it was a 6-point game. And if they don't get those techs, it should have been 2 free throws, could have made it an 8-point game and their ball. And instead they get those 2 techs. They miss both free throws. Toussaint hits both free throws. And then a 3 from Seth Wilson, all within 4 seconds. Because, yeah, the techs happened at 10:44 and Wilson's 3 goes in at 10:40. Just like that. Bang. 1-point game.
It was kind of like a jailbreak. Like, people realized the door was open and get out. And West Virginia was like, wait a minute, there's an opening here. Let's go. And Wilson got that ball and he hot potatoed that thing. Like, it barely touched his palms and it went up in a weird, like, typical Seth Wilson, awkward yet makeable form. And it goes in. And here's the weird part, Chris. They go from down 6 to down 1. They're down 7 2 minutes later. And that was impressive by Iowa State, I thought. But again, West Virginia just was not going to let that one go easily. What happened in that subsequent back and forth?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's there. So much happened and so much back and forth and so many different points here where you're like, well, that's it for West Virginia. That I think people forget that it wasn't just back to 1 and then it was a close game from there on out because Iowa State, pulled right back away, got a couple free throws. They not only got up 7, but then they forced a turnover from West Virginia and they missed a layup that would have made it 9. And then they missed a wide open 3 on the offensive rebound that could have made it 10 instead of 9 and missed both of them. And then they come back down. Kobe Johnson gets, I believe, was that an and 1,
right?
And all of a sudden it's starting to swing back the other way, and it kind of goes back and forth, punch for punch from there on out.
So it goes from 6 to 1 on the flagrants. Iowa State gets it to 6. West Virginia gets it to 1. Then Iowa State gets it to 7. And you're right, they have a layup, and then that 3 by Kuntz looked like it was on. And I don't think it's any stretch to say they probably call a timeout there at the under 8. You're in danger there, but they miss. Kobe Johnson gets the rebound. He goes the other way. Here's a guy who doesn't shoot, and he gets an and 1. And that's how much things change from up 10 to up 4. And then from then, they were in the jungle the rest of the game. That was pretty contentious. And then, which leads me to this, Chris, to say they needed this game and they can take something from it. Yeah, that's obvious. There are so many unique parts of this game that I think are almost as kind of, you just put on the shelf and be like, okay, like a bad game, you just kind of put, in the dumpster and you say, forget about it. This one's so strange. I don't know. You can feel great about it, but like, how much of this do you retrieve? For example, are you going small with Emmett Matthews as your center for significant periods on purpose ever again?
Probably not.
But that lineup was so good offensively and defensively. They were able to press. They moved the ball. They cut. They had energy. All 5 positions were moving. That was to me, highly influential in the outcome. Just having to, but also learning to use that lineup on the fly.
Yeah, a brilliant move from Huggins. I think he kind of got forced into a little bit. At first he tried to make it work with Pat Sumnick and with Trey Mitchell. And then, of course, Mitchell gets thrown out of the game. So then you're just looking at Sumnick or still trying to get Jimmy Bell out there. And I think he finally was just like, nope, we got to go the other way. I'm not fighting it anymore, and went small. And it worked. You're right. It was the key to that team coming back. But I don't think this is going to be something you're going to see a ton of moving forward. You might see it in spurts. It reminds me of, in one sense, when they started the trapping of the hard trap on the ball screens. That was TCU the first time, right? The first time through. And I said after the game, I even draw on my little whiteboard with that crude video I put together that, this works great, but it kind of caught TCU off guard and threw them off, and they weren't able to adjust on the fly. That's what happened last night. The problem is, once you have a few days to game plan for that, it can be exploited. And I think it was the next game was Texas, maybe, and they exploited the heck out of West Virginia's attempts to, double those ball screens. And if West Virginia tries to go small like that for long stretches again, teams are going to be ready for it now. Like this might, I don't want to say it's a one-time only thing, but it might be something you only see for like a couple minutes at a time if West Virginia is in desperation mode moving forward.
It's a matchup thing for sure. If they see Iowa State in the tournament again, perhaps. I mean, they could do something similar against other teams. Texas comes to mind. And I really wonder if it's within them, but they hadn't done it or hadn't had to or hadn't wanted to or hadn't needed to. Well, now they had to, wanted to, needed to, and you saw something with it. So again, could it be in the Big 12 tournament? Could it be, I don't know, maybe it's a mid-major team in the second round that doesn't have a big, maybe there's foul trouble on the other team. Maybe it's a scramble at the end of a half or something like that, where you can just throw a monkey wrench in and try to get away, steal a possession or two with something that's a little bit different. That's a positive for me. Let's talk about just the overall welfare of the program for this win and what it means, because they really did need this. I think it's kind of a fairy tale to say that they could go 0-2, Iowa State, Kansas State, and then expect to do much damage in the Big 12 tournament, likely is the 9 or 10 seed maybe, but also get in the tournament. Now, this is a big chip for them. It's a quad 1 win. It's a quad 1A win, Chris. It's a quad 1 road win. Their net is up. They are higher than the first place team in the ACC. This and this and this. You can make a much easier case for them. But also, I really believe that they believe after this game, and it's a lot of things we've said before. They can talk the talk sometimes. They don't often walk the walk, but they certainly believe that they're good enough. And just the galvanizing way that they won this one, again, maybe in unique fashion that you never retrieve again, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And this is a way for this team to really puff its chest. And I would anticipate coming home to a pretty juiced Coliseum on Saturday for who knows what. But never mind without the win, what matters. But like if they don't have this swagger, this bravado, they're not the same team. I would imagine that is more important than anything that you could do for the net, the RPI, KenPom, whatever metric else you can come up with.
I'm with you. We talked about it before the weekend even started, that it just seemed like this Iowa State game was one you circle as a potential schedule loss. And I felt even stronger about that, given that the big four, if you will, for West Virginia's starting five played an average of 37 minutes on Saturday afternoon against the number 3 team in the nation. And then kind of had their heart broken. Like maybe that's a little strong, but, had a chance there at the end and didn't get it. I thought last night was going to be brutal. I thought West Virginia was going to really struggle. And they didn't. And again, they kind of got punched in the mouth a few times, and they punched right back. And that was, I'm with you. I think this whole stretch, these last 72 hours, now they're probably sleeping right now. We're recording this on Tuesday at 9:30. They probably got back at 4 a.m.
I hope they're in class.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe they get an excused absence here because they're got to be exhausted after this road trip, and they needed it, but it may have boosted their confidence. And one person who I feel like has changed over these last couple games, especially after last night.
Oh, I'm very interested in your answer here.
I don't know if we're getting Spanish Emmett Matthews, but in I'm going to tell the people who are listening to this, because I cannot repeat what was tweeted and all that. But if you are over the age of 13, maybe go check out Emmett Matthews' Twitter timeline.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's ready. He's amped up right now, angry. And it was happening during the game. He was dunking on people. He blocked 2 shots. I mean, here's this stretch right here with 2:10 left in the game. West Virginia's down 1. He makes the free throws to take the lead. On the other end, on the very next possession, he gets the defensive rebound over their Iowa State center, comes back to the other end, dunks to make West Virginia's lead 3, and then back on the other end, blocks what would have been a layup to cut it back to 1, then blocks after the offensive rebound by Iowa State on the inbounds, another shot that would have cut it back to 1, and then Kobe Johnson gets the rebound. Like, that changed the game right there. And he was so amped up about it. He was like, it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that I think a lot of fans have been asking for from him. Like, give me the emotion, give me the energy, give me the cutting, give me the rebounding. You can do it all. And it almost felt like you're watching the way he's reacting, screaming, pumping his chest, chest bumping with teammates and getting excited, cursing and screaming after the game and tweeting and all this stuff. And you're watching it almost like Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. Like, yes, let the hate flow through you. Let it go, Emmett. And if he gives that kind of energy, that kind of almost anger, like, he's a different player and West Virginia's a different team.
And had to have it too. Like, they don't win that without him playing that position at the level he did. And just very important too for the game for him. Plus minus of 2. They win by 3. I was surprised to see that because he played. Let me see here. Yeah, he played 36 minutes, so he's in there for a lot of the ups and downs. The most minutes in the team, actually. I was wondering what his plus minus would be. And I was like, it's probably going to be significant because he played such a large role, but he was in there through all that stuff in so many different roles. But I think him and his response kind of personifies the team. Where, like, I don't know, like a boxer or a fighter gets to the corner. And, like, the corner guys is like, hey, come out of that, snap out of it. You're getting hit, you're getting kicked, you're getting pushed, do something. And then finally it just happens. And, like, all of a sudden you hear the Rocky music and the bells and all that stuff. And now you're slugging back and you're going back and forth and you realize you can actually win this thing. There's still a couple rounds left, but, like, I do think that they probably believe they position themselves as like a real sleeper for Kansas City and, roll the dice. You got a bid now, go see what happens. Again, still have some work to do. I think they probably shouldn't go 0-2 the rest of the way. But I don't think that they believe they're going to go 0-2 the rest of the way here. Going to this one, Chris, before we go, magic wand time. Jimmy Bell continues to kind of scuffle. He took a shot. That's more than he did last game. But I did not notice this. Apparently, this was true also Saturday. His right hamstring is really taped and wrapped. And that's not a guy whose mobility is his strength anyways, but he's not moving well. And I would imagine he's kind of laboring because of that. Trey Mitchell has a good run of play before this game, but also, I don't know if you just call this a one-off and go, but he wasn't good before he got ejected. The bench was better tonight, but it's really consolidated to just one player when you look at all the points, and that Joe Toussaint mattered. What has to be right so they can win Saturday and be on the right side of this conversation going to Kansas City? Because I don't think they want to go to Kansas City without Monday night meaning as much as it might mean if they do, in fact, follow through and win again on Saturday.
Well, do we want to say health? Because, yeah, I mean, if Jimmy Bell's got a bad hamstring, James Okonkwo's got a bad ankle now, Mo Wagi apparently, not apparently, I saw it myself, also posted on his Instagram about a stress fracture to his foot that's not been confirmed by anybody at school, just that he's out indefinitely. All of a sudden, yeah, you're down to where you were last night, where you're looking at Trey, who, what was the stat I said? Yeah, he played 25 minutes and he had more fouls and turnovers, combined 6, than he did points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals combined. Like, that's not good. That's not advanced metrics. That's just common sense. And yeah, you look at the plus minuses. Trey Mitchell, -13. Jimmy Bell, -9. Everyone else on the team positive.
Incredible,
in a 3-point game.
Yeah.
So really, honestly, and it's not just limited to them being healthy, the bigs being healthy and getting right. Also, like, Kedrian Johnson, like, I know he gets, a lot of crap from the fans. And Huggins defends him. I mean, Huggins said numerous times that he believes Kedrian Johnson is the best point guard in the Big 12. I think that's a bit much, but it's just him showing that he believes in Kedrian Johnson. And if you want to talk about, how big of an impact does he have or doesn't have, like, just look at last night. he was out for a stretch there because he got hurt. He got banged up pretty good. He is plus 14. West Virginia was plus 14 when he was on the court in a 3-point game, minus 11 when he's off. And it was only like, and most of that game, when did I put that? I'm trying to remember when I posted that. It was right before Iowa State hit a 3, but it was earlier in the game, which made it even more impactful. Was he was plus 11 and the team was minus 12, and it was only like the first few minutes of the second half, and it's like West Virginia is falling apart when Kedrian Johnson is not on the floor. You may think he turns it over too much. You may think sometimes he fouls too much or he gets beat off the dribble. But for whatever reason, this has been pretty consistent throughout the year that West Virginia is, as a team, is better when he is on the court than when he's not.
He probably, he was not very good on Saturday, but to hear Bill Self talk about just from an opposing coach's perspective, how much different he makes their team on a game where he was not good. Fourth time in school history, a player has had no assists and 8 turnovers. Will Robinson, Chris Moss, Lionel Armstead, Kedrian Johnson. That's quite a Rushmore, right? But to hear Self talk about what he does to passing lanes and how they overplay with him and how he's so fast on defense and on offense that he gives them another gear that they don't have without him, you're like, okay, I guess that was a bad game. And it was, but you're looking tonight, plus 14, 29 minutes, but let me see here. We go. 8 points. Okay, here my first for a second. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, just 1 turnover. And I think just his presence, availability was his best ability there. And then what maybe gives you hope for Trey Mitchell because he'd been so good and then had that blip on the radar last night. Toussaint, prominently involved in the finish Saturday and then indispensable performance contributions on Monday. Makes a bunch of threes. He started 3 for 3. He was 3 for 16 in his prior 7 games. Makes 8 free throws, gets 7 rebounds, and was out there during some rough moments where they had to have something without Johnson, so he had to play and play well, and he did. So that helps them out a whole lot. Final question, Chris, and we go. People are going to devalue Iowa State now, aren't they?
I was going to say, what is their thing lately? I mean, they've been going down, like downhill of late, but what did you say about what was your saying about the metrics and everything? It's not about what you've done lately, but what you've done over. They don't care about the wins and losses or when they occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the perfect example for Iowa State because they have lost 6 of the last 7 and 8 of the last 10, 4 in a row, 6 of 7 and 8 of 10
at home too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, unbelievable. So as of this morning, they are 26 in the net. They were 23 yesterday. The exact opposite, West Virginia was 26, is 23. So it matters. They're above Iowa State right now, but still, to win that game on the road, that's going to be significant for them too. Can't take it away. It did happen. Can't let it slip on Saturday. Kansas State won 3 in a row, got their act together, and they play Oklahoma before they play West Virginia. And I ran this, and I'm pretty sure this is accurate. West Virginia can finish 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th still in the conference.
So they can finish 7th?
If they win out, and because Oklahoma State lost last night, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's only a one game difference now.
And if they beat Kansas State, they'll go 1-1 against Kansas State. Oklahoma State will have been 0-2. So there's your tiebreaker.
All right, then.
They're all going to be 1-1 against whoever finishes first, second, third, first tie for second, whatever. So a lot to play for, which means they probably should stay focused. They'll have the day off. They'll get some time to recover. Maybe they'll get like a regular practice in here too. So we'll see. Anything else, Chris?
No, that's it. No, it's not it. It's not it at all. I don't know why I'm saying that. I may be on vacation next week, but before I go, it's going to be a big weekend. So we'll have plenty of coverage while I'm gone of non-basketball things. Big recruiting weekend this weekend. A lot of guys coming in for Saturday's basketball game. They'll probably get there like they usually do for junior days. Around lunchtime, meet with the coaches, check everything out, go to the basketball game for a half, then come back, do photo shoot, all that stuff. And I'm expecting a couple dozen, FBS caliber players on campus on Saturday for West Virginia, which will kick off the new evaluation period in recruiting.
So are you going to have your spy in the Coliseum with his opera glasses and camera again?
You're gonna have to also find some millennials to help me search social media for answers on pictures. Yeah.
We'll find some spies. All right. Big weekend coming up. We'll be back before then, before the end of the week, before West Virginia plays host to Kansas State and the regular season, and maybe solidify a spot in the tournament. Until then, I'm Mike Casaza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We will talk to you then.